pass it back to Kelly for questions for Jason.
Yeah, thanks for passing it back to me right after that powerful movie. I've got some tears coming down my eyes. I'm getting text messages from folks listening. Yeah,
Well,
wow, this is
it
so
seems to be
powerful. So
the theme of the theme of the webinar, for sure. Perfectly aligned. Yeah.
Yes. Whew. Okay, so Jason, there's a lot of questions that have come in, and I know the chat box is moving really fast and furious. But one teacher asked, what is one piece of advice you would give young people to tell their story and perspective of the world, and or how U.S. political events impact them?
It's a good question. I think, listen, it's a tricky question though. If you're asking me what advice would I give as a teacher, right? Which is what I'm going to assume, because it's different. The advice I would give may be different than the advice perhaps a teacher would give. But what I would say is that I think the one thing about ELA classes is that we teach the E and the L. I don't know if we teach the A very much. And I think this is an opportunity to enforce the A, to enforce the art part of expression, right? It's language arts. It's not language science, right? Though we treat it like it's language science. And I would argue that if you want them to express themselves about anything, let alone the political climate, I think we make sure that they understand that the creative elements of writing don't have to have the same rules. That there's a freedom to it, and they should feel that freedom when they want to express it. If they want to write, if they want to scribble their feelings across the lines, if that's what they feel like they need to do, if it's all caps, if that's what they feel like they need to do, if it's in a rap or a poem or some sort of song, if it's just a series of words, a list, all of those things should count as a way for them to express themselves, a creative way for them to express themselves about how they feel and to tell their own stories.
Thank you for that. Another question that's come in, there's a lot, so I'm trying to sift through them fast, and they're coming in very fast. My question is, now seeing that we have to face what we have to face for the next 4 years, how do you see the next 4 years for aspiring authors, and how can I climb out of this hole and get my stories out into the world? I'm a 35-year-old Afro-Caribbean woman from the South that creates culturally affirming stories for all children.
So how do I see for authors, what does this look like? Well, I think that's another one of those tricky questions, because I think we have to make the differentiation between being an author and being a writer. Being an author is a person who has written a book. Typically, we use it as a way to sort of delineate someone who has been published. Whether or not, it doesn't matter who's in the top political seat. My job as a writer it never changes. Right. I work every day as a writer, whether my work is ever seen or not. Now, in terms of what happens to publishing, we've been fighting far before this moment. Our books have been censored and banned, and publishing companies have begun to self-censor and be afraid because they're a business and the bottom line is being affected because of censorship and banning and this, that, and the third. And all of that will still continue. It does not mean that you should stop writing, and it does not mean that you should stop trying to get your work in the world, right? Like, your job is to do your job, right? That's all I can really tell you. You keep the main thing the main thing, and the main thing is for you to make your work. Somebody will find that work, and somebody will give that work to the world. But your job in this moment is to not be distracted by the things that we can't actually control right now, right? Your job is to control the thing that you can control. Do your work. We need to see it. We need to read it. And there will be a publisher who will give you a swing. And I own my own agency now. So if you want somebody to look at it, just know I'm be honest with you. And that doesn't mean I can sign you, you know what I mean? But I own an agency too. And if you want somebody to look at it, if you really believe in it, you can find me and shoot it to me. I'll check it out. Now, everybody who heard that, don't start bombarding my email with, you know what I mean? It's like, because then they're gonna be like, he said. I'm talking to her. You know what I mean?
I love it. Yeah, I'm trying to sift through all of these. I've got what? Let's see here. Oh, where'd it go? Jason, I teach in a predominantly Black and brown school, and students are feeling raw and vulnerable after the results of this election. What is your message to young Black women about how to navigate hope in a time like this?
That's tricky, right? Because I'm not a Black woman. I do love Black women, and so all I can say is I'm sorry. And also, it's interesting, right? Because there's a part of me. It's such an unfair. The thing about Black women is they will survive. Right? They will persist. It's like it's this thing that they should not have to do, but it's the thing that they know how to do, perhaps better than every single other person on the planet. They know how to get by. They know how to keep pushing forward. They know how to stand in the middle of the fire and not burn, or at least give the illusion that they're not burning. And it's an unfortunate superpower to have, but a necessary one in the lives of so many Black women in this country, right? So the truth is that, like, I wish I had advice. I should be asking for advice from them about what I'm supposed to do and how can I make it, because the truth of the matter is that they've always had the answers to those questions. They've always made right decisions. They've always, if you look through history, Black women have always been on the right side of history. I'm talking at every turn. And we don't give them the credit that they deserve, but we should, because I'm talking all the way back, including when Black men chose differently, white men, white women. It doesn't matter what the scenario is, all the way back. I mean, it was even Zora Neale Hurston who spoke out against Brown versus Board of Education because she realized that inherently it was a racist law, because it said that Black kids would do better in white schools, but it did not say that white kids would do better in Black schools. And so you had all these brilliant Black teachers who lost their jobs and Black babies suddenly believing that the education they was already getting wasn't enough. That's an inherently racist law. And it was a Black woman who spoke out about it. We can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. They have always been on the right side. So instead of me giving them advice, I'll give everybody else advice and say, listen to them and go the way in which they go.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I'm asking some of our team members to drop an incredibly powerful blog written by one of my colleagues, Natalie Dean, who's a Black woman who's really reflecting on a lot of things that you're just touching on with some great strategies. It was very, very moving. So we'll make sure to share that with everybody in this webinar. So we probably have time for maybe one or two more questions. How do we teach kindness and tell kids that how we treat each other matters when they are seeing leadership and TikToks or people who do the exact opposite and still have success? I teach fourth grade at a conservative private school that was open during the 50s. There's so much resistance.
That's a good one. I don't know. You know, it's a tricky thing. I honestly try to be honest about that, which I don't have answers to on the spot. It would be something I'd have to kind of think, mull a bit, but I'd like to say something cliche, like we have to lead by example, But the other thing that I really, look, for kids, we have to teach empathy and kindness, right? And it is very important that we do so. But I'm gonna be very honest with you all, as an adult, though my heart wants to know that someone else is kind, though my heart wants to believe that someone else doesn't hate me, I know for a fact that someone does. And what I really want, more than their affection, the affection of people who don't care about my well-being, what I want more than that is for the laws in which we all live under to protect me from the hate. Not from the ethereal ideas around hate, but from the physical manifestations of that hate, right? So my neighbor down the street has a right to hate me if they want. They just don't have a right for that hate to get in the way of my life, right? So like when I think about it from this perspective up here, it's like, look, I need to make sure, which also means, folks, that we need to be involved in our local politics. We need to make sure we're voting on everything. School boards, get involved with your school board. Get involved with, like, right? These are the things that we should be considering, because I think then we have the opportunity to really change the temperature of some things, and then we can lead by a different example that might actually change the children, right? Perhaps, But in terms of directly teaching kindness, I should be asking you, how do you do it every day in class?
Yeah, thank you for touching on this. I'm going to ask one more question, which I think is really related to what you said. And I will also say that I am on my local school board in Alexandria, Virginia, and getting involved in politics is just so important. And public education and the power of public education is so incredibly important. We need good people on school boards. So the last question, Jason, and then Dave, I'll bring you back up to help close things out with me, is how do we give space to our peers right now so that they have the tools to give space to our students?
You know, I like this idea around, you know, I was doing some work in like these independent schools, these very fancy schools around the country, and they all have these like programs called affinity spaces and all this, that, and the third. And it's basically just, they create safe spaces for people to vent, to say the things. And I think that we have to figure out space to give our peers the same things without judgment or shame. It's tricky having colleagues because professionalism sort of has all these, like, you know, it's like things that we have to adhere to in, as far as professionalism goes. But if any of these colleagues bleed into friendship, I think we sort of create boundary for them. We create one of those, and I mean this metaphorically, one of those rec rooms, you know, those rooms where you just smash everything in the room, you know. I think it's okay, because the truth is, I think that adults aren't allowed to express their anger. We're expected to just like go on and move on with it. But the truth is, some of us are upset, some of us are angry, and that anger is a real thing, and it's a true emotion, and it deserves to live outside of our bodies. So at any given moment, if we can allow somebody else to scream, I think we should do so. If we can allow somebody else, if it means that we need to meet up before school to have whatever we need to have to make sure that when we walk in here to argue and fight or scream or vent or whatever, so when we walk in here and talk to these kids, we can do it with a pure heart, then let's do that, right? All the things that adults need to do to manage and cope, we should do it. We should do so without judgment, and do so from pure intention, knowing that we're all in the same boat, doing the best thing for these babies, you know?
Jason, wow. This was just so incredibly powerful. I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Dave, and thank you again for bringing this to us and bringing Jason to our Share My Lesson AFT community. We're just thrilled to have you. Dave, I'm going to give you a final few words, and then I'm just going to close out a couple things. And then I'm also going to make a plug and challenge to everyone here to say, try the Great Thanksgiving Listen. Try it. If you do it, email us at Share My Lesson. Let us know that you've done it. We'll find some goodies to send you your way. So please give it a shot. And then we'd love to be able to highlight some of the work from folks who participated on this webinar today if you do the Great Thanksgiving Listen this year. So Dave, final remarks, and then I will close this out.
Thanks, Kelly. And thanks again to you, to the AFT, for everybody who came on a Sunday at the last minute, and especially to Jason. You know, listening to Jason, just a quick final story. There was a StoryCorps interview from a bunch of years ago between a dad and his son. And the son had served in several tours in Afghanistan. His name was Zach Skiles. And his dad, Scott, sat down for a StoryCorps interview with him. And they talked for the first time about what he had seen in Afghanistan. And when Zach came back from service, he had very severe PTSD. He ended up homeless. They talked about this for the first time. And I met Scott, the dad, at an event after they did this interview, and Scott was on the mend. He was in rehab and ended up actually getting a PhD. But Scott handed me a sheet of paper, and he said, "This has been really helpful to me, and I wanted to share it with you." And I opened it up, and it was just one line, a simple quote from a theologian I'd never heard of named Frederick Buechner. And it said, "Here is the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Don't be afraid." So that's my wish for all of you. Don't be afraid. Don't ever give up. Keep uplifting and caring for and loving your students no matter what. We're so thankful to all of you. We're thankful for the luminous work you do. Keep on, always. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dave. And it looks like we've got some folks that are going to give it a shot with the Great Thanksgiving Listen. So for those of you who said yes or not sure, that's awesome. Please let us know. Oh, you're getting thumbs up from Jason. I mean, come on. Let us know. So that way, you know, if you do it, send us an email at Share My Lesson. You can also, you know, put the link on Share My Lesson so we can highlight it. And I'm going to push that URL right here. This is where you can find the Great Thanksgiving Listen resources. And there's also a great one-pager. So there's a kind of the longer PDF, but then a short, you know, this is how you do it, and do it with your students. So please take advantage of that. I also want to highlight that we are wrapping up our 2024 AFT Book Club series. Here are all the incredible authors. And Jason, we're including you here. We know that you're an author. We've done this incredible series throughout the year, and we'll be announcing our 2025 book club speakers very soon. So I encourage you to join the AFT Book Club, which should be opening up for you right now. And then for any of you who are learning, this is a little bit of a shift of topic area, but if any of you are learning about the AI, I do an AI educator brain, and we are doing one on prompting, and we've got somebody partnering with us from OpenAI, a prompt engineer who will be joining us on Tuesday this week. So feel free to please join that particular webinar. I will open that link for you right now. And then finally, a big ask is to please rate and review this webinar on Share My Lesson. The link should be popping up right now. We'd like to, it helps elevate the content that we have on Share My Lesson. If you've ever heard about algorithms with any of the social media, we have the same kind of thing on Share My Lesson, and this webinar is recorded, will be available on demand, and we want other educators to be able to access this great content that we have here. So with that, Jason, you get the last word today, and thank you.
I don't have anything else. I love y'all, and I'm around supporting y'all and rooting for you every step of the way.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all to all our educators. We so love you and value you and see you and hear you. Thank you.